Welcome back to Market on Close. I'm Caroline Woods. It's time to turn our focus to Hewlett-Packard Enterprise as the company is approaching its July 9th trial date for a government challenge about its $14 billion deal to acquire Juniper Networks. To hear more, let's welcome in Antonio Neri, President and CEO of HPE. Antonio, thanks so much for joining the show.
Good afternoon, Caroline. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you. All right, I want to talk about the deal. I want to talk about AI, but of course, I also want to talk about tariffs. That's really what's on investors' minds right now. That's what's moving the markets today. So tell me, Antonio, what's the impact of tariffs on your business? And are you seeing any of your customers have to pull back or talk about potentially pulling back because of this uncertainty and because of, a newfound appreciation or potentially an old-found appreciation for cost?
Well, Caroline, the headline is fundamentally immaterial. And it may be a surprising, but here are the facts. First of all, Hewlett-Packard Enterprise does most of the business outside the United States. In fact, more than 60% of our business comes from outside the United States. The second fact is that HPE has a very large presence already as a manufacturing vendor in the United States. And that obviously gives us flexibility. And the third fact is obviously under the USMCA, there are exemptions related to our products based on the content and the value of the transformation of that product when we build it, for example, in Mexico. So when you add it all together, the impact is actually immaterial, and we have ability to mitigate much of that. However, that's a point in time today, and obviously the situation is very fluid, and we continue to monitor this. But the good news is that we as a company, we are very well positioned, and we continue to bring more manufacturing to the U.S. based on our capabilities.
So just to confirm, you're saying it's immaterial at this point with the tariff rates as they are right now?
Correct, and that's based on the guidance that we provided at the end of our Q1 results in February. So as the new tariff became, online, let's say a week or so ago, and tomorrow obviously is an important day, that incremental impact is actually very small to us.
Okay, all right. And speaking of guidance, as you said, you just reported your results in March. You did offer your for full year outlook. We won't hear from HPE again until June. But I'm curious to get your CEO perspective, because a lot of analysts are saying we won't hear much in terms of outlook from tech CEOs this earnings season because the landscape is so cloudy. There is so much uncertainty about these tariffs. Do you think that will be the case?
I'm not sure about Caroline. Obviously, we were at a given point in time in a position to provide some clarity at the time. Obviously, we deliver a very strong performance in Q1, where we grew revenue 17%. Obviously, we delivered the guidance on EPS. But at the same time, we had some challenges that we had to manage ourselves. And based on that point in time, plus what we knew about the tariffs, we provided a guidance that today stands. And so I'm not sure what the other companies are going to do. We're going to learn more in the next 4 to 6 weeks. And obviously, we are now closing our quarter. But as I think about the early June, we have more clarity about where we're going from here. What really excites me, honestly, is the fact that demand is still out there, and demand specific for the products where HPE brings unique innovation to address the concept of AI, hybrid cloud, and fundamentally the core infrastructure, which starts with networking.
So even though companies have to be more, focused on costs, you're saying demand hasn't been dented. So tell us what investors need to know about really the state of AI technology.
Well, I don't think it's just AI. I think it's across multi-domain. First, customers continue to digitize and automate their enterprise. That's a necessary step in order to apply these new AI technologies, whether it's large language models or agentic approaches, as I was hitting you early in the show. That's something that we already see in the enterprise space. We see it in our own company, where we have deployed across multiple domains in finance, marketing, R&D, and operations, where we already see benefits from a productivity perspective. So that's one aspect. But at the same time, you also need to continue to reduce your IT footprint by modernizing that infrastructure that all of this sets on, by reducing the carbon footprint. And fundamentally, that starts with the network. And that's why this deal that we have on the table is so important in order to give customers a more modern, secure AI infrastructure. And then cloud, we are not done. I think we're still halfway through that journey. And I think AI brings a possibility to actually repatriate some of the workloads on premise, because ultimately it's about the data and the data preparation, compliance, and security.
Okay, and we did tease the deal with Juniper Networks. Bring us up to speed on where you stand there.
Yeah, so you said it really well. So we have a court date for July 9th, and the judge has set 8 days as a trial, is a bench trial. And first of all, I want to say we are incredibly committed to the transaction. We believe this is a transaction necessary for customers because it's pro-competitive. There needs to be more innovation in the space, and I think the combination of Juniper Networks and HPE, both with networking and the rest of the portfolio, will bring a very strong alternative to the market. And second, for the United States standpoint, from a national security perspective, this is core technology that will allow us as a country to be stronger outside the United States and bring an alternative to some of the other technologies, particularly from China, where customers want an alternative. And that's why we are committed to the transaction. And let's not forget, from a shareholder perspective, this is going to deliver tremendous value because we already committed at least $450 million in synergies.
Okay. Antonio, BlackRock's Larry Fink was quoted yesterday as saying that the CEOs he talks to think we're probably already in a recession right now. Economists tend to disagree with that statement. But do you think we're in a recession? Do you think we're heading there?
Well, I'm not an economist. I can tell you from an IT perspective, from an IT spend perspective, we are not. I think it's fair to say that everyone that learned from the past, whether it was COVID and the challenges navigating that issue, it required more IT, not less IT. And therefore, IT will continue to be, in my mind, from what I see. And remember, I spend more than 50% of my time talking to customers. I'm in Houston today, and I have more than 50 partners here with us. They all see IT as an important lever to navigate this uncertainty and be ready for when potentially the market recovers and takes off again. Now we're going through that uncertainty, but I think IT is going to be fairly resilient.
All right, well, we really appreciate your insights. Antonio Neri, President and CEO of HPE. Thank you so much.